Hello, and welcome to Angry Nerd Reviews. This is Wolf, and I'm Dallas, and we're here to talk about the greatest movie ever, Iron Man 3.
Except it really wasn't. It really wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No, it was quite a pile of garbage, especially if you're a fan of the actual comics, which he actually reads the comics quite religiously. I'm not so much an Iron Man fan when it comes to the comics.
Yeah.
But that's just because I can't, stand 80 pages of just exposition.
It's a lot of talking. A lot of just talking.
Yeah, it is. He likes to talk. He talks his villains to death.
But anyway, enough about the comic. The comic will be brought up a lot more as we go through this because it's just so wrong. Yeah,
there's a lot wrong with the comic, especially when your hero is a man in flying armor. First off, would you have any things you'd like to say for your first entry?
New channel. Hope you like it. I had one a few years back. It might be kind of loosely. It might be something to do with this. I don't know. You might see it. We'll see.
We'll see.
Anyway,
I kind of doubt it, but we'll see. I'd like to say that Iron Man 3, I think, had a lot of similarities, at least in the feel of it, to The Dark Knight Rises. It's a ripoff, kind of. Granted, he disagrees with me in a lot of fashions, and it's completely different, I understand, but Batman gets his back broken, his city taken, Iron Man gets his suit broken, which makes no sense because he has like 30 of them that can fly anywhere in the world, and he has an internet track that can hack.
Yeah.
It was showed in number 2 that he can hack computers from around the world with his fucking cell phone.
Okay, we're getting way too far into the movie already. Okay, we need to start at the beginning. Okay, so, in the very beginning, first thing, nitpicky as stupid as hell, but still, he's up for 72 hours at this point, has been working nonstop, has PTSD from the stuff that happened in the Avengers. And since he has all this going on, he's obviously not been sleeping, like I said, and he's been working nonstop on his suits. His makeup did nothing to show this. His hair is still gel back perfectly like it should be. He has no stubble, and he has no bags under his eyes. He's not twitching out. He's not losing anything like that. He's just doing work.
Yeah, I mean, he's also on, like, the Mark 40?
Yeah, he's made, like, 30 suits between even the Avengers in this movie.
Yeah. So, Jarvis, tries to suggest to him that he should get some sleep, something like that. Of course, Robert Downey Jr. looking in his perfect fashion, just looking like a pretty man. But, I mean, it didn't show any progression of that. Then, when Pepper comes in, he's trying to have that closeness time with her, but that's when we find out that he has the drone suits.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's kind of a funny joke about just trying to wear in the crotch. By the way, this video is going to be extremely full of spoilers. I'm sorry we didn't say that right off the bat.
It'll be in the title.
It'll be in the title,
yeah.
Okay. This video will be filled with spoilers because we're going to break down the whole movie, the whole thing.
Yeah, it's going to be from beginning to end, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this. If you haven't read the title yet, then stop watching now if you don't want to be spoiled for you.
So, as we were talking about, if you know anything about the comics, you know who the Mandarin is. Chinese warlord, magic rings that have aliens inside.
Yeah, magical aliens inside of his rings that give him his magic powers.
Again, he knows a lot more about Iron Man than I do. Especially there's certain parts of this that just, in the Marvel Universe, they mess up a lot of stuff. Especially with a lot of the villains. Mandarin keeps showing up as a terrorist in it, who just kind of takes over the broadcasting system.
Yeah. He's pretty much like Osama a lot. He's just pretty much like, America is bad, and it's too gluttonous, and it's horrible, and we need to destroy it. And he's giving all these warnings to the president and such, and it's just, it doesn't come across nearly like how the Mandarin is. His costume looks like the old Mandarin's does, but that's about it. Outside that, he's even wearing all the rings, and it never gets explained why until quite a bit later in the movie, and then they just ruin things.
It was funny in the theater. We were laying there, and as soon as they did the big reveal of the Mandarin, his position changed from like sitting interesting to like, oh my fucking joke. But yeah, they really, really ruined that character, especially if you're a fan of him at all. If you're a fan of the Mandarin at all, you're gonna be disappointed.
Yeah, and the worst part is, it's not even like it was a minor character. This Mandarin's essentially like Batman's Joker. He's the biggest villain that Iron Man has, and they just written like ass raped him over a table.
Also, just from the previews, if you've ever really picked up a Marvel comic and you saw that Iron Patriot was going to be in this movie,
yeah, Norman Osborn
as a hero. No, actually,
yeah, it's the original Iron Patriot is this right here.
If you guys don't know, the original Iron Patriot was during Dark Reign. Dark Reign was right after the Secret Invasion, which was with the Skrulls. Now, Norman Osborn killed the Queen of the Skrulls, and he took over basically S.H.I.E.L.D., but it was Hammer, because it was involved with Hammer Industries. He became basically the new Nick Fury. When he did that, he had his own set of Dark Avengers. He wore the Iron Man suit, dressed up like that, because he was kind of their amalgamation of Captain America and Iron Man. the Dark Avengers was actually a pretty good team. It was a really good series, and it was kind of a slap in the face for such a good character.
It was Norman Osborn, like you said, the person that is the Green Goblin for the greater part. And he eventually kind of went mad inside the suit and everything. It broke down after that. But in the movie, it's War Machine painted red, white, and blue. That's it.
That gets worse, though, later in the movie. It gets so much worse later in the movie. As it goes through, as he said, Tony has this huge post-traumatic stress, syndrome. He can't sleep. He actually has a night terror at one point in his suit, attacks Pepper. He wakes up, shatters it. Pepper gets pissed, leaves the bedroom. There's a funny thing with the bunny, too. He gets giant...
Very, very big, like, 5-story tall stuffed bunny.
Yeah. Was it an anniversary gift?
I think so.
Something like that.
It was some stupid gift. He was trying to make up for everything he hasn't been doing lately, so he tried to buy her love and everything, just like...
Well, he's Tony Stark.
Yeah, he's like, I have a lot of money, so here, love me.
There's also a flashback of whenever Tony was still super drinky-drink, which I think would be hilarious. He was still that in the movies with the suit, and we could get the flying puke in the suit. That'd be awesome. I would love that. But there's this whole where it goes back, and they introduce, again, if you're a fan of the comics, a big organization called AIM. Now, AIM is the Advanced Idea Mechanics. They're the people who made MODOK. They wear kind of like beekeeper-looking suits, yellow, but they're super scientists. Well, they introduced Ulrich as the leader of AIM. And he's like this little, mousy, nerdy guy. He tries to talk to Tony, but Tony's about to get laid, so Tony just kind of blows him off, says, I'll meet you at the top of this building.
And they really couldn't have made him less appealing, too. Yeah. Have you seen him? His hair is, like, all greasy and straggly. It's about as long as mine is. He's all hunched back and bent over and just like, Tony Stark, over here, please. I have things for you.
You just called your own hair unappealing.
Shut up. No, mine's not crazy.
Usually.
Anyway.
But, yeah, he was this mousy little bastard. And Tony, of course, getting laid. Which, actually, they show the main component. What is it called?
Extremis.
They show Extremis in that encounter with the woman because this plant gets chopped and they've been doing test trials on the plant. It ends up exploding because it's still unstable. Well, he's having this night with this girl, and while he's there, Ulrich is waiting for him on top of the building. So Ulrich's sitting there on the fireworks, abandoned by Tony Stark, the person he thought would make his career. So we flash forward to modern days. And in modern days, again, we were talking about Tony doing that underwear thing.
Yeah.
Testing out the groin of the suit even though he wasn't in it. And the Mandarin and everything like that. Well, Ulrich ends up coming up and talking to Pepper, who's the new CEO of Stark Industries. And he goes through and he shows you like this map of the brain where they have these devices they can hook on, it'll map out your entire brain, do all this, really high-tech advanced stuff. It could be used for so many different purposes. And he's trying to get her in for Extremis. Because he picked up the contract for it after Tony kind of, one night stand with the woman dropped.
And it's basically what it's supposed to be made to do is grow back like severed limbs. It has the ability to rewrite your code so that if you regrow things, it's like a cure-all for any disease. But it's very unstable, like they said, and it can be very temperamental, and it makes things explode if things get out of hand with them.
Yeah, which is always an awesome side effect. I mean, we already have anal leakage and chance of dying. Now, you could blow up and take out your entire school and family, and
suicidal thoughts, depression, vomiting, anal leakage, and explosions.
You know what? It's kind of a cool side effect compared to some of the other ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you get anal leakage and constipation in some of those, but it happens. But they go through, and he's trying to show her this, and she of course knows him from the past too. And she doesn't really get into it or buy into it right away.
Yeah, she sees that it can be very heavily weaponized if it needs to be.
Exactly.
And it does eventually. It basically can make superpowers.
Which, I'm just going to say real quick, Ulrich is kind of the Norman Osborn of this movie.
Yeah. He dresses the same. He tries to do his hair the same.
Yeah.
He acts the same. They made him Norman Osborn
By
almost.
the way, AIM, at one point in the comics, during a New Avengers and Avengers storyline, gave Norman Osborn superpowers. So, just for putting that in there, kind of a little call to it.
And they also never put him in the suit, really.
For a little
I think
bit.
he plays it for like 5 minutes, screws some things up, and then it's done.
Well, they go through, and Tony, in his awesome, completely not arrogant personality in the movie, he ends up telling the Mandarin, hey, here's my home address. I'll, kick the crap out of you. Come on, anytime, whatever. Come on, bro. And That's Tony. You know.
Yeah, it was a lot of just like, I'm gonna leave the doors open. Come at me, bro, and just ended it.
And then Pepper gets worried and decides she's gonna leave the house because Tony just called out a terrorist. Tony thinks that's a bad idea. Just stay here. You know, he's a pussy. He's not gonna come here. Excuse me for using that word if it's offensive.
I said, fucked him in the ass over a table a minute ago.
Oh, I wasn't even paying attention. Well, I don't know. Maybe pussy's more offensive. Who cares? I said fuck earlier too, but they go through and she's trying to leave, and Iron Man's just like, nah, fuck him. He's not gonna come get us. And Pepper's wondering, and all of a sudden, the scientist who made Extremis burst in, which Pepper got all jealous and thought it was another one of Tony's slaves, but technically it was. But still, came in and was telling him, you guys need to leave now, you guys need to leave now. And as she's saying this, of course, a bunch of attack helicopters appear and launch missiles all over the freaking compound.
Yeah, they just destroy the place, and then Tony calls his armor, but sends it to Pepper to keep her alive and everything, and gets her and this other girl out of the building. They get out. He calls his armor back onto him, even though he's got the armor he has on call is an unfinished armor. He says it's not battle capable yet. It shouldn't be used, and he ends up. For some reason, that's the only armor he has on call. After he called out a terrorist that says he's going to kill him.
Okay, not only that, but later in the movie, we see he has an entire armory of armors that can be on call at any moment. Any beck and call. Because later he activates this big magic protocol. Of course, it's not really magic, but still. This big protocol where like 30 Iron Man armors come to his aid. It's like the Iron Man Power Rangers.
Yeah, those come flying in out of nowhere, but that's near the end. We're going to try to keep it semi-paced. But anyway, like I said, he calls in an armor that's not ready yet, so obviously he's damn near dying here and there. He ends up getting thrown into the water and starts to suffocate because water's leaking in somehow. And then he eventually routes all the power to where it's supposed to be, and he flies out from under some shit he was under.
Which, we forgot to mention earlier, he was investigating one of the explosions he thought was a Mandarin attack, and he'd set a course for Colorado.
Yeah.
And when he flies out of the water, his suit had already auto-coursed to him because Tony got knocked out during his flight. And boom, to Colorado.
Yeah, just flew him there, dropped him off. And then Jarvis, he asked him, like, why the hell are we here? He's just some snarky-ass remarks like, oh, well, you said plot course here. So he just flew him there. And then, of course, as soon as he flies there, somehow or another, his suit runs out of energy. It's powered by the arc reactor in his chest. It's been explained.
Except for, he uses the car battery later.
Yeah, then he puts jumper cables on it to try to charge it.
Yeah.
And then this whole time, I'm not so much upset that he's not in the armor. It's the fact that it ran out of energy. That's not how that works. If he was running out of energy, it means his arc reactor was running out of energy, which means he'd be dying soon.
Yeah.
And even though it shows no health effects at all, just walks around like normal, just cold. And then, even though he's broke down with no armor, can't wear anything, doesn't have anything to do, he still finds a way to call Pepper through the Stark communications lines and give her a message, but he can't call one of his armors to come pick him up and fly him back home.
I also want to say again, in Iron Man 2, he had his phone and was able to hack those people who were trying to invent Iron Man suits all around the world. If he can just hack any database from that, he can't catch a satellite or signal or anything. Granted, they're in the woods of Colorado, and I'm sure that sucks. But still, sure there's something out there he could do. Anything.
So then he meets a little boy. And they become best friends.
Oh.
Basically by Tony constantly berating him and telling him he's retarded. And then one time he asks him, oh, so is anyone home? He's like, well, Mom left for the diner to work for now, and Dad went to the gas station to get some scratch-offs. I think he won because he hasn't been back in 6 years. And he says the magical line of, oh, well, Dad's leave, it happens. Don't be a pussy about it.
That is fucked up, guys.
And I have to admit, I laughed in the theater because it was funny at the time.
It's like uncomfortable laughter. It's like Daddy just hit Mom and you didn't know what to do.
But I mean, like, if that ever happened in person, you'd be flipping out a lot because that's child abuse.
Yeah. if it wasn't Tony Stark on screen saying that line, you'd be like, this guy's a fucking asshole.
And the thing is, that's a theme throughout the majority of the movie too. He uses PTSD as a way to just be an asshole the entire movie.
Like the part where the kid's like, "You take me with you? I'm cold. Now I know you're cold. No, because we're connected." He drives off, leaves the kid in the cold.
Yeah, just leaves him there. And I understand him not adopting a random child because it does have a mom still. But I
understand that too.
You've been nicer about it.
Also, there was just a battle in that town.
Especially since he grew up himself without much of a dad, ever. He always felt neglected because they showed it in the second Iron Man. He always felt neglected by his dad because he was never around. He was always working on his stuff.
Yeah. And again, things are on fire in that town. The diner had just blown up.
Yeah,
the one that he's right next to. Was Mom in that? No, it was a bar. See, if Mom was in that diner, she might be dead. She might be a legitimate orphan now. We never actually see the kid's mom.
It's God, he's such an ass in that entire movie. And the only thing is, too, if you watch that movie and it had any other actor playing that part of Robert Downey Jr., you wouldn't want to watch that movie. No. He's the only one that actually carries himself right on screen to actually make it semi-funny.
He's Iron Man. He's Tony Stark in like personification. He's just
That's actually very true. If you know anything about the history of Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark, they're almost the same freaking person.
They really are. I mean, he is Tony Stark. There's no other actor who could have played him that way, and who also could have nailed the look of Tony Stark like that. I mean, it's just too perfect. But after that, he goes to Colorado to find out information on this whole terrorist attack that happened there. He ends up searching for this mysterious file on this military guy who got tested. He goes and he meets with the military guy's mom. She meets him. She obviously starts giving him information because she was supposed to meet somebody else, not him. Well, he tells her who he really is, and the person she's there to meet, who is posing as an FBI agent, comes in. The sheriff, which, kind of odd that they portray a sheriff like this in a movie, because usually they just obey orders in movies.
Yeah.
But the sheriff pulls the gun on the FBI agent. It's like, well, that's not good enough here. I want to know why you're harassing him. And she burns him.
Yeah, it shows that she's one of the people that's been experimented on with the extremists, and they gave all the people they experimented on fire powers, essentially.
Not all the people. Some people blew up.
Oh, yeah. And actually, a majority of the people that still have fire powers end up blowing up because it's fun to look at.
But she came to get this file. Tony ends up telling the woman, throw it into the bar. This is how he's going to find the Mandarin. That's a big plot point. And he ends up having a battle with this woman and another guy, actually, who he'd seen earlier, who attacked Happy. We forgot to put that whole part in, but Happy doesn't matter.
Yeah. He's a big bit character.
Yeah, and somebody who had attacked Happy earlier. Well, earlier in the movie, also, Iron Man had given this makeshift Iron Man grade taser to a child. I just want to say that real quick.
Yeah, it's a giant military level like flash bomb, and he gives it to a small kid because he's getting bullied.
He doesn't get used on bullies. That ends up coming in handy because the kid gets kidnapped by one of the extremist people, and he flash bombs the dude in the face, and knocks him right the fuck out. But knocks him right the fuck out, and him and Tony have this whole banter about, oh, I saved you, no, I saved you, no, I saved you, and they go through. And that's when Tony's about to drive off, go get his groove back, after the kid told him he needs to go get his groove back, because that's kind of what the movie is.
Because Tony Stark needed to be told by a small child, hey, go do Iron Man things.
This movie is Iron Man's new groove. But they go through, and he's like, take me with you. He's like, I'm cold and alone. He's like, you trying to manipulate me? He's like, yeah. He's like, no, I know you're cold. No, because we're connected.
Then he drives off, and then after he drives off, there's no more mention of that file. Never again. Not a single mention of it. He just ends up leaving, goes to like Home Depot, buys a whole bunch of random shit, and makes these weird gizmos for himself, which I thought was a good idea. It's actually really interesting until he finally got to find the Mandarin through special knowing.
Let's also talk about this real quick. He was in his house just chilling out. Granted, some people like him do keep their wallet on hand at all times in their house. I think a lot of people don't when they're just relaxing. How did Tony Stark buy these things at Home Depot? Because Tony Stark's presumed dead. If he tried to use a line of credit or Stark Industries credit card, he would have been declined because he would have been deceased. That would have been reported at some point. You don't see him pay for it. That kind of annoys me. I mean, granted, he could have just had a wad of cash in his pocket. He's Tony Stark, whatever. But I'm just a little like, how the hell did
they never really... I know it's, again, really nitpicky, but they really never explain how he has money on him.
Yeah.
Because after he fell into the water, he was presumed dead from that point because no one really saw him leave. Because through all the wreckage and everything, you couldn't see anything. He just took off. And he was knocked out of the time, so he didn't have a way of talking to anybody. He told Pepper, but she hadn't talked to anyone. They all presumed he was still dead.
Yeah.
So he has no way of him really paying for anything. But he buys all these things, builds all these gizmos like a shock glove and stuff, which actually was cool seeing him use his brain
and glass bombing
to get his way through an obstacle. And he finds a radio truck, and he meets this guy who has a tattoo on his arm of Tony Stark. And it gets really creepy and kind of weird. And
then wants some Tony Starkiality.
Yeah, and then he ends up like talking to him. He's like, "Hey, I need more bandwidth so I can hack into these files and so on." So he sends him up there. He fixes the antenna or whatever somehow and gives him more bandwidth. And then he just, like, techno hacks his way into things and finds out what the Mandarin is. So there's no reason for the file. It never existed. And then now he knows. So he has all these little objects he's made and everything, like these little like bombs. It's around Christmas time, supposedly.
Yeah.
And so he has like little glass ornaments filled with like chemicals and shit that he uses as grenades. And this is where it takes a really weird turn for Iron Man, because for the greater part he's not a kill hero, and he starts murdering people.
Like I mean, I guess it doesn't like confirm their death, just like the guy in the first movie when he missiled the tank doesn't confirm his death. But in this one, they throw the glass shard right into the guy's face.
Yeah, like he throws a glass grenade at the people. They fall back. One falls into a fountain. It's just to be cool. He throws one on his head.
By the way, the guy's face down in the fountain, and Tony Stark throws a glass bomb right on his face just to add insult to death.
Yeah, if he wasn't already knocked out and going to drown, he's now dead and just soaking in water.
Shoves a glass in your neck will do that.
Yeah.
He goes in there, kind of gets captured.
Yeah, he gets caught because he's awesome.
Oh, also Rhodey, in the tiny bit that he's actually Iron Patriot, this movie gets hacked, captured, and is in the same place.
Yeah, this Iron Patriot is really shown for like maybe 2 minutes of the entire movie, and with Rhodey in it, maybe half of that.
Yeah.
And most of it's just him busting into random like Iraqis' houses.
Yeah.
And like harassing them.
Well, no, he wasn't really harassing them. He's like, "You're free now," and they all ran out. And there was one woman who was in the shawl, which it wasn't really a woman. It was one of the extremist agents. They walk up to shake his hand and zap him with their fireman magic. I'm calling it magic. I don't care if it's supposed to be a chemical
I don't know
made.
how they explain it away with that. But yeah, so he got captured, and they're both in the same compound. And then the guy, who's the leader of AIM?
The leader of AIM, Ulrich.
Yeah, Ulrich walks up and he makes Firehand because he's been experimenting on Extremis too because he doesn't have the hunchback anymore. He's fixed his appearance and everything. And I guess the Extremis is how he did it. They didn't really talk about it much. But then he like heat hands the stomach of the Iron Patriot to heat him out of it. And when he does, he pops out and starts beating ass, but then just catch him again.
But here's the problem. Yeah, they do that, knocks him out, throws him, or ties him up like that. Which, the whole fire thing's a whole weird concept.
Yeah.
Just getting to see the fire powers of Extremis. And then, of course, we get to see the Iron Patriot as a villain after that.
For a few minutes. And the thing is, it makes no sense because the Iron Patriot in this movie, in this continuity, is a military object. And we know all Stark Tech iron suits have retinal scanners so that they know who's piloting him. It will refuse anyone who isn't one of them. He climbs in and it just fucking is like, okay, you're in it, you're ready to fly it now. And the thing is, I know the military's had it and they've worked on it and upgraded it, but they wouldn't remove a protocol like that, not on the biggest weapon. It's like having 8 nukes and a person flying around.
Yeah, that reminds us of something else we'll talk about later with the iron fireworks.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he does that. Well, after he leaves to go do his dastardly plot, he leaves Tony and Rhodey there, guarded by extremist agents and stuff like that. Tony ends up calling his remote control suit all the way from Colorado to where the hell were they?
Some mansion. It's quite a while away, actually.
Which, again, if he couldn't contact his other suits from far across, I guess he does have those injections in his arm, but still, what's to say the signals on those are stronger than the signal on his cell phone?
Yeah, and the thing is, he has like these setups where he has like a little helmet thing. He has like his phone can hack into anything. You've seen it in Iron Man 2. He's like hacking a broadcast in the middle of a hearing in front of the government, but for some reason he can't contact any of his suits to get them to him.
Yeah.
So he calls his little remote suit and it all flies onto him and stuff. He gets like an arm and a leg first, and he starts flying around with that. Eventually, the rest of it comes, and he ends up busting out Rhodey, and then they take off to go find the Iron Patriot, who has hijacked Air Force One, and is trying to kidnap the president. And they put the president in like the Iron Patriot suit later because they have him strung up in the Iron Patriot suit to be like a message, I guess. And then
he's skipping a little bit here. You're jumping a little ahead. Jump a little ahead of that base. Well, there's some important stuff that happens in that base. Like first thing, whenever he like they go through, it was just kind of funny when they go to the mercenary, or point of the fist of the mercenary, because like, these guys are weird. There's a guy who breathes fire. Never see that again. Just kind of an interesting thing they could be using against Iron Man. The biggest thing that he skipped though was the revelation of the Mandarin.
Yeah,
when Tony Stark comes up. This might be before he gets captured, actually.
I think it's right before, yeah.
It's right before he gets captured. He comes up, and yeah, it is before, and he comes up and he finds the Mandarin sleeping in his room. He pulls a gun on him, or he gets these whores out. No, the Mandarin's in the bathroom. He gets the whores out who are with the Mandarin. The Mandarin comes out of the bathroom. He pulls a gun on him. Instead of the voice we've been getting all night with the movie, we get a drunk English accent.
Not just drunk, dude. He is high.
Yeah, he's
been doing a lot of cocaine.
Turns out, which this would be a really interesting storyline plot if this is how it happened in the comics, or if the Mandarin was a character that didn't exist in the comics. But the Mandarin was a figurehead made by Ulrich to give a bad guy to the U.S. government so he could get into power, and they'd have a reason for him to imply all these different things, which is, damn near an awesome, brilliant plot
Yeah,
line.
it's ingenious as hell.
Except for the fact that that's like doing that to the Joker and Batman or something like that. That is Iron Man's main villain, and you turned him into a imaginary, you turned him just imaginary figurehead that people want to hate, just a stereotypical terrorist to get the American people all on edge, so they'll be all, oh no.
Yeah, just give like everyone a common enemy to hate, so they're watching him while he's over here doing all his extremist things.
And it's stupid. I mean, again, it would be amazing if it were somebody else. If they just made up a villain for the movie.
Yeah, they would just made a name up, be like, here, here's this amazing villain, he's like a super villain, worry about him, he's a terrorist.
But they marketed that whole movie with the Mandarin, getting comic book fans excited. We were actually really excited to see this whole sorcery versus technology thing.
Yeah. That was the biggest thing, it's all mysticism versus technology versus the sciences, and they're fighting. And then it just goes...
Yeah. It's just this whole, he's just an actor. I mean, he's ridiculous. Rhodey almost shoots him right in the face whenever he walks in.
Just for hating him.
Well, that's because he thought he was the terrorist. And why wouldn't he even use the terrorist? That's what we're all supposed to think. And again, it's kind of weird that he was a terrorist in the first place.
And here's a really good point to bring up at least one person. Because now it's been revealed that Tony knows the Avengers. They're all at least friends, to some extent.
Yeah.
And for some reason, Captain America wasn't called to deal with the terrorist threat.
Okay, I'm a huge Captain America fan, personally. And it's kind of fucked up that Captain America is sitting here watching this whole terrorist, I'm bombing this, I'm doing this, these are attacks. And he's not, like, just enraged and just furious. I mean, he just got back into the world, granted, but that's the same thing, that he was dealing with back then. Was America under attack, or the world under attack? And, people being afraid of the Nazis.
Yeah, there's no way Cap would have sat back and like, oh, terrorists on TV.
He jumped right back into it.
There's no way he would have just sat there and watched and let us happen, especially when he knows it's all over the news that Tony is in trouble and is dead or dying, and they don't know where he is.
Not just that, but where the hell is S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Nothing. S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist in this, apparently.
Also, why does the president have crap guards? Why isn't S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury with all his super tech protecting the president?
Especially when they know, again, terrorists are out and about right now.
Really, nobody's protecting the president. He doesn't have, Bruce Banner's not chilling ahead. By the way, that's later.
That comes up.
But Bruce Banner's not, chilling out with the president, don't worry, sir, though, that could be more of a powder keg, really, than a safety net.
Yeah.
But, Thor's not there with the president, or even Black Widow or Hawkeye, the Avengers that don't matter.
Even the two, smaller Avengers, they're better than everyone else that's on that plane. Them two alone could have at least dealt with the extremist guy long enough for Tony to show up and help out and keep the president safe.
Not just that, but I'm sorry, when your ass is getting kicked like that, could you just make a 5-minute phone call and be like, hey, Avengers Assemble?
Yeah.
Which we never got in the movies, but
no.
Still, Avengers is a fantastic movie, but really, they really screwed us on the catchphrases. But they go through, they capture the president. Iron Man repulses somebody through the chest to the next room and kills them. Grant is an extremist guy, but oh, holy crap.
Yeah, Iron Man, first of all, he doesn't kill anyone. He is not a kill hero. Everything he uses is concussive. It's like being hit with light, pretty much.
Yeah, they are concussive blast.
And then he unibeams from the big thing in his chest. The big arc reactor is a huge repulsor, essentially. And it blasts a laser through the guy's chest, through the wall, into the next room.
And kills him. Well, they get the president. They take the president, put him in the Iron Patriot, suit for symbolism and such.
Yeah.
And, they hang him on this freighter where they're going to execute the president on live TV. Because let's put the, fear into people. Ulrich also stops acting sneaky at one point in the movie where, he had this whole figurehead and had all these evil plans and just kind of goes on a rampage when he fights Tony.
After he gets the president, essentially he just turns into a straight supervillain and just becomes Magma Man.
Yeah,
it's like he became Living Laser out of nowhere and just started zapping people.
Living Laser would have been a more interesting villain.
I would have loved to see Living
Especially
Laser
if they did an experiment gone wrong and Living Laser was created. There's actually a lot of Iron Man villains they could have chose from.
Yeah, if they would have done even a Dr. Manhattan kind of thing with him.
Yeah.
They experimented on him, things went wrong, and now his body's pure energy. It's essentially what Living Laser is. He's just a being made of energy.
Yeah. They could have done that. It would have been a lot.
And it would have had the same. All you have to do is change a name almost. Because the thing is, they're using heat-based weapons. It's all fire and energy-based. So Living Laser would have done the same thing.
Well, anyway, to go save the president, Iron Man calls in 30 Iron Man suits. that he couldn't call before. By the way, he tries to save the president on Air Force One. He ends up saving a lot of people. It turns out it was a drone. But he calls in a ton of Iron Man suits to come in and help him fight against...
yeah, there's like 30 of these things. And one of them's like a construction bot almost. It's got these huge forms, these spikes that come out of its hands. And it's just a whole bunch of weird general use armors he's never used.
There was a little throwback to the Hulkbuster unit in that, actually.
Yeah, there was a very, very close looking Hulkbuster armor in that.
Yeah, I kind of got entertained by that because it looked like a Juggernaut Hulkbuster unit. I actually kind of like that.
Yeah.
It was blue, which is weird. But they actually didn't they have the stealth one, which, by the way, this kid tells Tony Stark, why don't you just make him stealth? And he was like, oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Why didn't I think of making him stealth? But he goes through and fights them, tons of Iron Man suits. There's this one part where he's just running and jumping into different Iron Man suits, and they get wrecked. He just jumps back out, gets another one. They're all fighting things. It's just, Jarvis, grab me a suit.
It's just a lot, just fun to look at. It's eye candy. It's like explosions. It's him fighting Ulrich again, and it's just he keeps wrecking his suits and he keeps jumping in other ones, and it's just fun to look at. Really, it's basis of it because it ends up doing nothing. He ends up fighting them. Thinks he beat him once, he comes right back up, starts beating him again because of course it reanimates you, it regenerates you.
Yeah, I mean he blasted him the hell a lot, and how he thinks he gets him at one point is by locking him in one of his Iron Man suits and blowing him up. That doesn't really get him.
It hurt him. He got back up.
Which, by the way, this is what we were talking about earlier. All those Iron Man suits have self-destruct systems. That's a little deadly and dangerous. Not just because if somebody hacks into your system, it can blow you up. But I know if it's not active, the charges and all, it's not a threat. But still, I'd be sweating a little.
Yeah, it'd be a little weird to have like small pieces of like C4 all through your armor.
I'd be sweating a little if I knew I was wearing an explosive.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't trust him not to make mistakes because he's enough for 72 hours.
Especially since it's like it's what's it called? It's Marvel. I mean, there's other people in this world that have just, even if they're not fully fleshed out in the movies yet, there's knowledge of them all over the world that they have this amazing intellect like his, and they could easily hack into a suit and blow him up.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that could find their ways into hacking into that suit. But anyway, he has explosives and all that. Now, something we forgot to tell you is one of the experimental people they took was Pepper Potts. And they did the extremist experiment on Pepper Potts. Whenever Ulrich comes back from being blown up, Pepper, with her newfound lava superpowers, fights him and beats the living shit out of him. And then snaps back into normality. Is afraid that if Tony touches her, she's gonna burn him. She doesn't, of course. And then Tony's like, what the heck? And just blows up every single one of his suits.
It's just going into like epilogue at that point. It's just like, oh, well, I fixed her. That's all he says. He pretty much goes like, oh, well, I fixed Pepper. She doesn't have extremis anymore, so there's that. And also, found a surgery to get the shrapnel out of my heart. So I don't need this thing anymore. Arc reactor's gone. Throw it in the ocean.
Which, in the comics, he still got that in his chest.
Never, ever happened. In the years that Tony Stark has been around, that arc reactor has always been in his chest. Even if he could have it removed at this point, it'd be useless because the fact of the matter is, most of the things he uses are based on his arc reactor on his chest.
Yeah.
Everything, all his suits, all his powers, everything come from it.
Though, I guess these new suits in the movie don't get power from it. Maybe we'll get one of those nanotech suits. But that'll be interesting to see. Anyway, he does this whole epilogue, this whole I'm changing my life, this whole thing. We get our nice little wrap-up of the movie. And we go into the credits. Now, of course, in all the Marvel things, you wait till the end of the credits. Usually it's just something stupid, like them eating a shawarma, which it's funny, but it's stupid. This time, he was telling the story to Bruce Banner, the Hulk.
And the whole time, Bruce Banner's like falling asleep during the story, and the only thing I think was, you knew where the Hulk was. You could talk to him. Because he was working for Stark Industries at the end of the Avengers. They are now, like, partners. They know each other pretty well. I mean, they're talking about the entire movie. They're like the best friends in that.
Not just that, but let's also I want someone to do a touch up on if the Avengers. We know the Avengers exist in the same universe as him. Now, first thing, he's getting attacked by a terrorist. Nobody even thinks to like jump in. You could say, well, they're all doing their own crap, but really. I mean, I don't think Thor stuff's that important.
He just took Loki back. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna hang out here with him. They could have had him under control.
But basically, whenever you hear one of your fellow Avengers has been killed.
Yeah.
Killed. You don't think that warrants, coming up and getting
And the Hulk wasn't even
avenging? You don't think that needs some avenging?
And the Hulk doesn't even do anything ever. I mean, he's never busy. He's working for Stark Industries. He could have easily been like, "Oh, what? Tony died? What? Gone? Done Hulk things? And just been movie would have ended. It'd been done."
You don't think Nick Fury would have been a little pissed about losing Iron Man?
And you think even freaking Cap? Near the end of that movie, them two are best friends at the end.
Yeah, the movie was crap. It was a piece of shit.
It's just stupid as all hell.
I mean, we went in there with pretty high hopes.
The thing is, I was so excited whenever I first heard about it. I went out the couple days before we even went to see the movie, and I bought an Iron Man 3 poster for my wall back there. You can see it's covered in freaking posters. And the only thing I could think, and now since I got this thing, I cannot bring myself to put it on the freaking. I can't bear to put it on my wall because it's just so bad.
Grab this side. Ready for it, guys? Iron Man 3. Fucking sucks.
Shitty movie. And this is coming from someone who nearly came during my Iron Man 2. I know everyone says it's such a bad movie.
You always say that.
I like that movie. I don't care. Iron Man 1 was good too. They were both really good movies. Iron Man 3 was just horrible.
Garbage.
So yeah, if you care anything about Marvel or the comics, don't go see it. If you haven't read an Iron Man comic, go watch it. Have fun with the pretty lights. That's pretty much what it's for.
Yeah, a lot of people do complain that there's not enough Iron Man time in it. I mean, I've heard a lot of complaints about that just from work and stuff like that. But
it's showing Tony Stark and his inner life. That's the only good part about the movie. It shows who Tony Stark is.
It shows the Iron MacGyver.
Yeah, it shows that he's very resourceful and very smart. He can make anything out of nothing.
The Iron MacGyver.
Yeah.
And he's so I mean, The Iron Knight Rises was a shitty movie, and we won't be buying the DVD. We won't be going to see it again. I mean, we're obviously pretty big nerds. You saw that we collect toys and
you can see
crap.
Posters everywhere. I showed you the figure. I mean, there's gonna be a lot more coming.
We're pretty big nerds. We're gonna have a lot of videos coming. I mean, if you guys enjoy what we're doing, feel free to subscribe,
like, comment, stuff like that.
I mean, either way, if you don't even want to do that, just keep watching the videos. We'll keep making them.
Yeah, views are always nice.
Just if you guys are enjoying it. If you aren't, then hey, flame us in the comments and call us dumb faggots. I'm sure you'll like that.
Yeah.
And there's another offensive word I'm saying. Oh well, screw it. Well, people use that word a lot, throw it around a lot now. Just, keep looking for our videos. If you guys enjoy them, we'll keep making them.